Madam President, just last week we honored the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on what would have been his 95th birthday. Today, misfortune touches the King family again with the passing of Reverend King's youngest son, Dexter Scott King. America will forever be indebted to the sacrifices of the King family, and our prayers remain with them in this challenging time of loss. Madam President, I rise on this day, 51 years ago. The Supreme Court issued its ruling in the landmark Roe v. Wade decision, a legal victory that granted millions of women in every corner of this nation the right to make decisions about their own bodies, a decision that gave them the right to decide about their own future. Today, this anniversary now serves as a reminder for over 25 million women that there are those who believe that their futures are not for them to decide. Make no mistake, the Supreme Court's decision in June 2022 to overturn Roe and dismantle nearly 50 years of precedent was a direct attack on freedom. We now live in an era where our children, including my 9-year-old, are less free than their mothers and grandmothers before them. The Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs will indeed have repercussions that will be felt for generations to come. It is shameful that current and future generations are being saddled with fighting the same battles that their grandparents fought, the very battles that their parents thought were already won. The American spirit once meant that each generation was determined, if not obligated, to advance freedom and opportunity for the next. Yet at this moment, we're failing, passing them the baton of a nation that is less free day by day. Madam President, I stand not just concerned, but furious at the dangerous attacks on reproductive freedom. Extremist lawmakers have championed a draconian anti-abortion agenda that stunts our progress and drags our country backwards. Legislators that are responsible for the ban of some or all abortion care in 21 states, leaving 1 in 3 women without the ability to get the care they need where they live. They've introduced bills laden with harmful restrictions, even going so far as to criminalize our doctors and other essential healthcare workers providing life-saving care. And the impacts of these restrictions are not felt equally. Women of color and women of lower socioeconomic status are disproportionately burdened by these restrictions. Many face the financial barriers and carry the scars of shame that leaves them without access to care in state and being forced to remain pregnant while our nation is already combating a devastating maternal mortality crisis. These intentionally harmful policies have targeted women, they've targeted healthcare providers, they've become tools of division, dismantling the trust between colleagues and neighbors, afraid to seek support or advice for fear of retribution, all in an effort to send the undeniable message that there are those who will stop at nothing to cut off a patient's right to decide for themselves. But just as these policies serve to undermine our democracy and right of people to make decisions about our own bodies, the American people have shown that they stand on the side of freedom. Ever since the Dobbs decision, Americans all over the country and a varied political party have spoken at every opportunity they've had in staunch opposition to these attacks on their reproductive freedom. In states like Ohio and Kentucky and Montana, people have stood up and turned out in favor of reproductive rights. And in my home state, Californians overwhelmingly decided to amend the state constitution, enshrining the right to abortion care into state law. Madam President, standing with the majority of the people in my state and states all across this country, I join my colleagues As a proud co-sponsor of legislation like the Right to Contraception Act, the Freedom to Travel for Healthcare Act, and numerous other policies that would safeguard reproductive freedom. That includes the Women's Health Protection Act, which would ensure access to comprehensive reproductive health care options, including abortion, across the country. In closing, the American people have been clear. Their doctors' offices, and their health care decisions are a freedom they will stand to protect. So I invite my colleagues to stand on the right side of history by supporting critical legislation that protects access to reproductive care. The next generation is counting on us to ensure that they inherit a future with the same rights as generations before them. So today and every day, I stand ready to do just that. Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.